Welcome to Mob Talk. Jason Harris guides our live weekly show with numerous automotive experts talking anything and everything automotive. Turn up the volume and let's get ready to rock.
Our topic now for the next 30 minutes is going to be, should the BDC and the sales team be one department? Why or why not? I like this topic, especially right now. I feel like it's a very timely topic. Does anybody have any thoughts? Would like to jump in and kick off the conversation?
I think it goes back to what we were talking earlier, Jason, is that the dealership, the leaders in the dealership need to take that responsibility so it flows. And that's what you see is the choppiness in all these dealerships is that they don't sit as a team and decide on what's best for the team and then execute. So leadership is where it starts, and they both need to be working in harmony. That rarely happens.
Just to interject here, something about the BDC and sales process. We have a BDC trailer, if you will, and one day I'd happen to be, going through, and I kind of overheard an employee kind of complaining about the trailer being, like just isolated.
Yeah.
And I got to thinking about it, and I got to thinking that, kind of makes sense. Like, I don't have to sit in that trailer all day; they do. And but still, nonetheless, I believe that an environment, a good creative environment, should, I think would actually help and enhance.
Mm-hmm.
So the way my dealership is set up, it's a small showroom. We just barely have one car in the showroom, and we have a podium, and the podium faces the front showroom, and my office was directly behind there. So it's a family business. My brother runs, he handles the day-to-day, and I handle behind the scenes.
That's awesome.
And so I said to my brother, I said, look, I'll tell you what, I'll make you a deal. I said, I'll come out of that. I'm going to come out of my office, because I'm not going into the trailer's office, because we have another office in the far back. I'll go in the far back here. But I think it's important we bring the BDC up here. And I said, this way they're close to you. Mm-hmm. And I said, and he's kind of got rabbit ears, so he hears everything. I says, and quite honestly, it gives you the opportunity to jump in, when they're on the phone, because I think the BDC people do an excellent job on the phone. I really do. And I think the salesmen, when they have time to make the calls, are good. But at the same point too, let's face it, you got a live body in the showroom. That's, you're going to take care of that person.
It's going to take priority, sure.
So I've done this for 30 years, and I've seen the responsibility go one way and this, that, and the other. So the value of a BDC is important. So I felt it was important enough to just bring them in, put them in the, in the showroom, or at least near people. And then, I'm actually finding the production, both ways going up a little bit. And then I kind of just, not isolated myself. I just, took an office a little more private, which is actually good for me because I'm over here and things. I want to jump in, but it's not, I've recognized it's not healthy for me to want to be involved in every little problem. I have bigger things to do. And so it's actually over the last few months worked out really well for us. But I think in answer to your question or your topic is, I think they're both important. And I think if you blend them and bring them both together, you can do some good things. So.
No, I agree with you, and thanks for jumping in there, Ron. I've recently seen a kind of a pattern where the manager of the sales department is also the manager of the BDC, where in the past there may have been two people. It's one person kind of overseeing both departments, and it seems to bring almost organically a closer connection between those departments. And the line of having a BDC and a sales department, and that them kind of being on two different islands, that line that separates them seems to be more and more blurred in 2021. I seem to find more of those departments coming together and becoming one.
Does anyone go A to Z? I'm asking. I'm curious.
Elaborate a little bit. Maybe not everybody understands exactly what your question is, Brian, but I think it's a good question.
Yeah. So does anyone handle the lead, from the beginning to the end? Like, because I know everyone talks about it, but I don't know anyone that does.
So I could jump in and answer that, and the answer is yes. As we're a smaller group, we're just now able to develop our BDC, and by develop, we have one guy handling 4 locations right now. We're finding out he was just too overwhelmed, so we had to turn the salesman back on. So to answer that, yes, our 4 locations currently have several situations, not all, but several situations that do go tee to green with one person.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is John. How are you?
Hey, John, how are you, man?
Good. So I work for a larger dealer group, and we actually have kind of split the salespeople into 2.
Okay.
Traditional and then e-com. And e-com salespeople do take it from A to Z. And I can tell you what we found, especially coming from a private cap where there was that traditional BDC that would, handle the lead and give it to a salesperson and so forth. What I see and I find is that it's a much more smoother transition. So if you think about it, you have somebody that's engaging with somebody either online or on the phone, and then when they typically come into the store, if that person's off, they still schedule an appointment for them anyway. Sometimes they'll tell them to ask for someone else, but it starts this game of hot potato. So it started with Joe, and now when you come in, you're dealing with Peter, and now if Peter's busy, even though they told you to ask for him, now you're dealing with Bill. And when the customer arrives, it's kind of like, well, who am I actually, I don't even know who I'm supposed to see. So having them take it from A to Z makes them a better salesperson because they're now not only answering the leads and engaging the customer from the start, but they're also involved in the sales process between, the walk around, the test drive, needs assessment, all the way up to the sale where they TO to finance. So I think it's actually more beneficial. You just have to make the decision, does it work for your group, your store, your style, your market? But we do it throughout all of our stores, and they're throughout, the country, and works well.
I think that's a really interesting topic. Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, thank you, Jason. I have a unique situation. The store that I'm at now, I'm at a Nissan store. We sell about 200 cars a month. They actually brought me in to create a BDC a year ago in February, right as the pandemic hit. So we started off with 1 BDC agent. I'm now up to 5. And we just, over the last 2 months, created our internet sales team in congruent with the BDC. And it's the first store that I've been at that has allowed me to do both. Either stores I have, they want to do only a BDC or only an internet department. But this is the first time we've been able to cohesively create an internet team, a regular floor sales team, and we have a BDC team. And when I say that it finally, to me, just gels well, to the point of the hot potato, we had that concern, right? When a salesperson does it from beginning to end without a BDC, one of the concerns I have is that while they're delivering cars, which can be an hour and a half, 2-hour process, who's handling their leads? Who's responding back to those text messages, those emails? And so my BDC, in tandem with the internet sales team, they put this partnership together that says, hey, we work together. This is my teammate. We work together as a team. We don't use the word BDC or customer care. It's just that, hey, we work as a team. So if any reason you can't get in contact with me, you can get in contact with XYZ, which is the BDC agent or the salesperson. They even do their videos together. So when they're doing the introduction video, hey, it's Selena. You've been talking to me. I want to introduce you to my sales guy. Cool. He's the product specialist. So they're introducing via video this product specialist so that they know who they ask for. And they've already seen the video of the BDC agent, which just creates this relationship and this synergy when the customer walks in, right? So one of the biggest issues you have with BDC is that the information the BDC collects doesn't transfer over to the sales floor, which is back to your point earlier, Jason, is why a sales manager who can handle both, who understands both BDC and the sales side of it, who can take the notes from the BDC and person and deliver it over to the salesperson and make sure the customer feels like, hey, you guys actually know me, right? It's like the doctor and the nurse. The nurse comes in and gets all your vitals, they check all your temperature, do all that, and the doctor walks in and says, okay, let me review this information. But if not, and the doctor asks the exact same questions that the nurse just asked, you kind of feel frustrated. Well, didn't you already get my weight? Don't you know my temperature? Like, why are we going through this again? So what we do is create a little folder packet that when the customer walks in, the BDC agent has already done the write-up, has kind of said, hey, this is the car they have, this is the trade, here's the VIN, here's the information I have on the customer, here's what they're trying to accomplish. Then that goes to the internet salesperson who's already kind of been familiar because they've been listening in the same room, right? We're all able to connect the dots because when the BDC needs help, the salespeople are there to answer their questions. But when the salespeople need help because they're given too much information or trying to sell the car over the phone, the BDC reminds them, hey, we don't do that here, right? We're just trying to get them in. Don't forget like what our process is. So the team together works great. And when the customer walks in the door, they say, man, you guys are on point. All the information I gave you up front, we know, you're ready. They open up that deal folder that has all the customer's information, the trade. Hey, I just want to reconfirm everything that the BDC rep or the internet salesperson talked to you about. And if the internet salesperson isn't available, then that goes to the floor. But even still, that folder is already there and available for the salesperson on the floor, who then can appreciate that, hey, I see you've already worked with someone ahead of time. We appreciate it. We have all this information ready for you. So together with the new state of way things are digitally, customers love it and it works.
That is awesome. That is
awesome.
So cool.
Awesome, Erica. That's awesome.
Erica, can I follow up with a question here? As we're just diving into the BDC world, and like I said, we've got most taking it from T to green. BDC to me is like the old horror story of Booby Miles. He gets to run the ball for the first 85 yards down the football field, but then someone gets tagged in and they get to run it into the end zone. How do you keep your team motivated without that celebration of the sale right there at the end?
Great question.
Well, we get to celebrate the sale. So my BDC, they get paid on hat tricks. My BDC gets cash incentives on Saturday, just like the salespeople spit. I try to make it feel the same. And because, again, as a sales manager, I have that experience. I don't treat my BDC like glorified receptionists. They have a numbers board. They have the X. I want to know where you're at. Hey, why is this person beating you? Are you going to let their closing ratio close on you? How come their sets are more to your shows? Like, I stay on them just like I do my sales team. And now that my internet sales guys work together in the room, they get to appreciate each other a little bit more, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, how come one of my internet guys didn't sell a car today? Come on, BDC, what's up? We don't let the floor outsell us today. Like, that's the kind of conversations that we're having so that the whole team feels like let's win. Not to mention, I let my BDC know that, guess what? Why can't you be an internet salesperson? You set the appointment. You built the rapport. You're watching these guys do it. You're setting appointments for them. So how can I transition my BDC, who already has the follow-up skills I'm looking for, into my future sales team, which this means this becomes a breeding ground for the future.
Oh, man,
There's
I
our
love
leader.
that. Here, I think this deserves one of those. Oops, not that one.
There's the leader.
That's why, Jason, that's why I just moderated her, with all due respect. It's your room, but I just moderated Erica.
I mean, my goodness. How was your vacation?
Way to go. There's the leaders that we need.
Erica, thank you very much for the answer. I wasn't able to take notes, but I got the gif. I'd love to follow you, and I'd love to hear more going on in the future.
Hey, Brian, we're recording this. I apologize. I was supposed to put in the title, actually, of this room. So I will definitely send you a copy. No worries, man.
I tried to take notes. Hopefully, Erica went too quickly, but, she's got some great things to say. So
feel free to message me anytime.
Erica, thanks for participating. You always bring some amazing knowledge bombs when you come into these rooms. Hey, guys, real quick, we got about... I think about 20 minutes, so we're going to kind of wrap things up. I'm going to wrap it up at the end of the hour. This has been the Automotive Talk, a sit-down with the Strategy Mob. My name is Jason Harris. Thank you so much for joining our conversation tonight. We've had some amazing conversations. Currently, right now, we are talking about should the BDC and sales team be one department? Why or why not? I love to hear everyone's thoughts. Erica just dropped some amazing process, and I'm very impressed. I'd love to actually just come and see that in action, man, because I think that is super cool. But I would love to continue to get everybody else's thoughts on how we could potentially blur the line between these departments and bring them together closer, because I think when we do, the customer is the one that actually benefits, and we get away from that hot potato that everyone was talking about.
Jason, if you don't mind, I'd like to introduce a good friend, Gavin, to the stage. Gavin, do you have any thoughts? I know you're fairly new to the room. You're trying to get the feel for the room. Gavin, do you have any thoughts on Jason's recent topic we're discussing?
Good luck, Gavin. Curtis just put you on the spot.
Yeah. Thank you, Curtis. Really appreciate it. Honestly, I think I have a little bit of a different perspective, and I don't know if I necessarily have much to add, especially from it sounds like.
No, I love the different. I love the different perspective. Let's hear it, because that's what these rooms are about.
I actually just exited the industry like in the last week or two. But
damn it, Gavin, I'm sorry.
Congratulations.
So I will say my experience comes from both a franchise and an independent perspective. And as a franchise, I've worked with a Ferrari dealership, a Pagani dealership, Maserati, a lot of luxury Italian brands. And then on the independent side, I worked with one of the really premier independent dealerships in Southern California. We specialize in hypercars, supercars, which really had a back end support, which was their main point of business, which was more so a wholesale business, a wholesale database, which is the largest wholesale company in the U.S. for luxury and exotic cars. So, it's tough because my experience really doesn't see, or I haven't worked with companies that really had different groups within the company. There were smaller dealerships, or they just didn't have really that strong of a sales force where you could even justify having your floor guys be any different from everybody else.
Gavin, were you the BDC? I mean, I think you were the BDC.
So that's the thing. I guess in some ways yes, but no. My time with Ferrari and Maserati was interesting. I never really actually took on a sales role, but that was also partially because this was 2012 through roughly 2015, and I think there wasn't that much change going on in the industry yet. At least with those brands, they weren't recognizing the need for an online presence at the time, and they left a lot to the manufacturers. And now I don't know with those specific brands. I know they've probably transitioned, but at the same time, I know they still have, at least in the case of the dealerships here in Southern California, they have very small teams where most of the sales guys are doing a little bit of everything. On the independent side, again, I mean, just as an example, so at Iluso right now, the one official salesman is Todd, and he's doing everything. He's doing walk-ins on the floor. He's doing everything. So
that's pretty common right now.
Yeah, and I think it's tough. I'm sure some dealerships probably through the pandemic. I think everybody obviously took a hit, but at the same time, I think dealerships that had a stronger service capability, probably saw things change, but not as harshly as dealerships and companies that really didn't have a strong service department to kind of back up the sales side. So, but yeah, I just what Erica was saying, I felt like just in that little bit, I was learning a lot from her obviously experience and what it sounds like she's doing with her team. So that was super insightful. I wish I had more to input and share, but
no, we
honestly,
appreciate it, man. I was
thank
just
you,
trying.
Gavin.
I was just give you a chance to share the stage and have a mic.
Yeah,
I appreciate it, Curtis. You're welcome.
How come I never see any Ferrari Instagram ads?
Probably because they're not needed.
Because the owners are posting it themselves.
Yeah, Ferrari has one of the strictest marketing requirements of anybody that I know of. To the point, if you post your Ferrari and they do not like the way you're presenting it, they will either tell you to take it down or risk the relationship you've established with them.
I've actually
there's definitely some guys.
Yeah, there's some influencers who have wrapped their Ferraris in some certain colors and they made them take them off. I heard of that. But nowadays, you never even hear of luxury dealers having even TV commercials. I guess because that's not where your customers are. They're not watching TV. They're making the TV shows, right? That's what the luxury brands.
No, that's a good point.
Yeah, that's like there's literally a thing for like a Lamborghini. Lamborghini doesn't have TV commercials because Lamborghini owners aren't sitting there watching TV waiting for a commercial. I mean, that's what their perspective is. Anyways, Jason, back to you.
No, it's cool, guys. Hey, thanks. I don't mind. I'm very much so a squirrel type of person. When I hear a good story, I kind of go the other direction. So no, it's cool. Thank you, guys. Hey, guys. We've had a fair amount of people jump in, listeners. Hey, guys, thanks for being a listener. If you'd like to join in as a speaker and kind of bring your 2 cents, it is much appreciated and welcome. This is the Automotive Talk, a sit down with the strategy mob. My name is Jason Harris, and right now we are talking about should the BDC and sales team be a one department? Why or why not? Recently, I've seen in the last 12 months a pattern where we are migrating to a kind of a singular sales department. In the past, the BDC and the sales department have been usually in separate rooms, maybe separate floors, and now I'm seeing more and more where that is not common, where they are more on the floor together, working side by side to bring customers through the door. But I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions on why the BDC and sales team should be one department.
So, Jason, if you don't mind, the one thing I would chime in and say is that I definitely believe the two should be one department.
Okay.
I think for starters that individuals who work in those different capacities have a ton to learn from each other.
Mm-hmm. No, look, I think the intention.
I think at the end of the day, if the goal is to obviously give our customers the best,
Exactly. Sorry, Gavin, I think we're losing you there. My connection, it sounds like it was getting choppy there. I wasn't able to get it, but I think what Gavin was kind of saying there is that, being kind of one department, both BDC and sales, does enhance the customer experience. The question is why, as an industry, are we not all doing this? Erica, it sounds like you're doing a great job of doing this. We had Ron on earlier. Ron was kind of talking about how he's doing it at his dealership as well. John was kind of adding, hey, John, I'd love to kind of hear a little bit more about how your process was a great process, similar to Erica's. How did that all start? What was the conversations around that process?
So we started this a few years ago, and similar to, I guess, Erica's, issues where there was kind of a disconnect, or there was the hot potato.
Yeah.
And we just felt, how do you get somebody involved from day one all the way up until the sale? Now it does become where that, let's call it e-com or internet department / BDC, that particular salesperson needs to be really good with follow-up, attentive. As a team, if there's, let's say, 5 or 6 of them in there, they know that if someone's with a customer, they need to pay attention to, let's say, the contact log and make sure that someone's at least responding to the customer. Our sales managers watch over it as well. So if somebody's off, and we try and make sure that everyone, gets a response in 30 minutes, on a busy Saturday, it may be an hour, but obviously sooner the better. But there's that threshold where if I hop in there and I see there's leads in there, or a customer waiting for a response, I'll even sometimes just hop in there and answer them. And I don't mind doing that because at the end of the day, it is a giant team. So I guess the big thing is you really just need to find the right people. Once you find the right people, it becomes easy. And I think, Erica, like you mentioned before about how you graduate a lot of your BDC people into internet salespeople.
Yes.
That's great.
100%.
Do you, and this is really maybe a question for Erica, do you think that there's a day in the near future where you can kind of make that BDC person / internet person one person? And maybe make that department just, either a little bigger, or I'll make up a number. I don't know the size of the store, but let's say you have 6 BDC reps and 6 internet salespeople. Can you get the job done with 9? They do both and take it from A to Z.
I think that's a great question. I did find that there is a small gap of missed opportunity with complete internet sales, and it becomes a long-term follow-up. because the personality of a salesperson is kind of really quick, right? They want the long term. They need not the long term, the short term. They have kind of a shorter version of the close on the sale, 30 days, 45 days, and they're pushing it. When you start talking about 60, 90-day follow-up on a customer, it gets this repetition that sometimes long term, this internet sales guys don't. They just kind of block it off. That customer's not responding. They didn't respond to my last 5 phone calls, where I feel like a BDC agent is more paced to kind of do that long-term follow-up. So in the stores where I didn't have a BDC and I just had internet sales, I was always able to at least let them give me one person who would help with that post 30 to 60, 90-day follow-up. And we paid that BDC agent a little bit differently because for me, it was a gem when they had a customer that the lead had been in there, longer than 45 days and we sold it 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, a year. I pay even more for a person to bring a customer that we've been following up for 9 months and couldn't get them in, and you got them in and they bought. Like, that's going to pay you a nice bonus, right? Because there's more to it, right, than a lead that came in same day sold. Internet lead came in and it sells the same day. It's not as much effort. So with the idea of a person being able to do all of it, absolutely. But how do you also not miss the gaps of those customers who are in the cycle and in the funnel a little bit longer? How do you make sure that you're not missing opportunities when a salesperson's busy and caught up doing something all day with 2 or 3 deliveries? Because at a volume store like mine, an internet salesperson could sell 2 or 3 cars in one day. So that means you got to nobody. You got to follow up with no one. And if you don't have someone whose vested interest is to go in and respond to those text messages, our customers have a very short attention span. And in Atlanta, where our market is very competitive, and there's another Nissan store 15 miles from me and 8 in the area, I don't have time to say, oh, I didn't get to you today, I'll just follow up tomorrow. I need a rep who can respond and say, hey, Erica, there's a missed text message. Let me get on it. Let me respond to that email. And I think that's just a customer care point of view that either we could have maybe the receptionist do. Like, I think there may be other people within the dealership or maybe other people on the team. If you had a big enough team to say, let's do it in tandem, like I'm your floor partner virtually, right? So I'm your virtual floor partner, may not be a BDC rep. So I think it's a great point that you make. And I put one more caveat in here is that my BDC with an internet team, with the sales team in the same room with them has matured and changed dramatically. And I've been running BDCs for 10 years. But I'll tell you, one of the issues you have is sometimes the cattiness and the talking and the, let me tell you about what happened over my weekend. Like every BDC has it, to the point that I've had to move my office inside the room to make sure, hey, that we stay on topic. But now that the sales team is in there, and let's just be honest, most of my BDC is women, even though I'd like to change that, and most of my sales guys are men. But now that they share one room, those conversations are different, right? Because these ladies don't want the guys knowing about their weekends with, whatever and what they did and their makeup and their hairstyle. And same thing with my guys. They're more conscious of their conversations, their personal phone calls. They hear the tempo of the room and realize that they're not getting enough done. And they see that board that I have that has all the phone calls going out and that their calls aren't being up to par with the BDC, and they get challenged on them. Like, oh, y'all gonna let the BDC people come on now, let's get the phone calls going. So it creates a different environment and a much more mature place to work because people know other people are listening. And that has been huge to me because I don't have to babysit that room as often.
That's awesome.
Hey, Jason, can I jump in on that? Because
absolutely,
something that Erica said really kind of struck a chord with me. And in my bio, I said I've got a line in there about a sales funnel, and it's not really a sales funnel. It's more of a colander. And the way that we've got our setup is our BDC basically works hand in hand, kind of like Erica's does, is we set them up and they literally are the salesperson's partner, right? So our BDC is basically our duct tape that makes sure all of our holes in our colander are filled. And so that way we get more of that volume down to the bottom. Because on a salesperson's funnel, there's holes all over the place, stuff getting missed, stuff not getting answered, stuff just sitting there. So I love that. That's how Erica runs hers. That's how we've run ours for the last 9 years that I've been running it. Because beforehand, as a salesperson, I knew what my weakness was. I got real complacent. When you're in the internet side, it's super easy to get complacent because you're sending emails after email after email after email, right? And you're just waiting for somebody to finally raise their hand and say, okay, I'll talk to you. So it's real easy to hit that just or to just hit the send button
For sure.
and not have any true recourse of it. So, that's where our BDC has, or when I built the BDC around our department, that's how we built it. And I mean, it's been fantastic, and we've had some of the best results we've ever had when we did it that way.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and Jason, can I add one thing
Please.
to that? Like what Eric is saying is so true. But one other thing I would add that on a granular level, is what happens when a salesperson is off or a BDC person is off and a customer is engaged. Like that's something in our industry that's like, I call it the ultimate gap.
Yeah,
where
there's an
just
in-between
because the
space.
person's off,
Mhm.
yeah, like just because the person's off, that person, their responsibility is like, oh, well, since they're off, that customer has to hold off. And when you have the team that Eric is talking about, you can fill in those gaps. And I think, I love this question that you asked, Jason, because I think one thing we need to look at is maybe and I don't want to cause controversy, but maybe we almost moved the acronym from BDC and we call it a customer experience team. And we just define the roles of the people under that team. Because like business, BDC just sounds kind of brutal, business development. But what about the customer experience?
Exactly.
The business will happen through the experience, and everybody working as a team, like what Erica said, and having leaders that understand the process. I think that's what's kind of missing from that BDC to sales experience and process.
Duran, I have something. Of course, keep in mind, we're only 6 months into really developing our BDC, and we still have those taking tee to green on the sales side with those same leads. But one thing we've implemented is, so we do all three. We do the phone call, the email, the text, of course, with every response. But when we hand that off, when that BDC hands it off, and this goes same with salesmen on days off and vice versa, in our text, we're also doing that video of ourselves. So that's a talking video of our face, etc.
It's a clean process.
And when that handoff happens from the BDC to the salesperson or a person that's going to be off, now that's a two-person video. I'm not going to be here. This is the face you're looking for here. And we just keep the customer involvement going on that way using video text going out to that customer.
Go ahead, Duran. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say I love that, because what happens is, and we're going a little bit deeper down this rabbit hole, is sometimes it comes down to compensation. So when you look at the compensation of how people get paid, sometimes I've seen BDC departments that are so focused on getting the credit for the appointment set and the show and all this other stuff that it causes friction between the BDC team and the sales team, because they're like, wait, I got to make sure I get credit. And a lot of dealerships, they forget to how do we make it to where it's a team focus? Because ultimately it comes down to people's lives and how they're getting paid. And if it's set up on CRM only, like whoever set that appointment gets the credit, not based on teamwork, it creates a friction between, and now there's not a team, there's a division between the two, because it's all about who gets the credit for the customer coming in, who gets the credit for the customer buying, and it's not giving credit for them working as a team.
Can I take the next 30 seconds for everybody on stage,
please,
in the audience, to raise your hands, flash your mics, to absolutely recognize Jason for running this room and the value, and we're sharing the stage with an incredible person. We appreciate his time and his effort. Thank you so much. Look at all these people flashing and raising. Thank you, Jason.
That's much appreciated. Thank you, guys. This has been a lot of fun.
Thanks for tuning in to Mob Talk. Feel free to like, follow, comment, or get a hold of me with any ideas for new content on future shows. Be sure to check out more amazing automotive content from our Strategy Mob captains and crew at strategymob.com.